you're gonna read a book. And then we're gonna talk about it. Have you ever read a book and you wanna go and look to see if anybody else had the same thoughts about it? Well, baby, you're in luck, cause we're gonna hit it up if nobody else is gonna talk about it. So go get that book. Read it up. We're gonna talk about it. You know, baby, we're gonna talk about it.
Hello, everybody. I was changing my microphone while the video was playing, so I hope that it's working. How's everybody doing?
Very good.
Welcome to...
That wasn't book reading music. That was baby making music.
Man. I don't know how you read books, but... yeah, I don't know. I just thought it would be hilarious to make a really sexy book club song, right? Heavily inspired by "Never Gonna Give You Up." I just love when a song just opens with grunting. Yeah, this is book club. We got the Acquisitioner who's been on a bunch of my videos talking about Dune.
Hello.
And we got Pulp Mortem, who I'm so excited to collaborate with again. And I forced him to read some fantasy and take a break from all those pulpy sci-fi books.
What is this, magic? Oh.
Do you read it?
No.
That's good.
Yeah, we got magic. We were supposed to be joined by Alex Green, too, but he forgot and is 3 hours away from his house. So he's going to catch the replay and probably leave a bunch of comments because I forced him to read it, too. I've been excited for this stream for a while, and I've been trying to get more people to read this book because I think it... I don't think I've read a better book since. I think this is the best book that I've read since I read this book. Why does that sound so weird to say? I haven't read a book that has topped this one ever since I read it. That sounds better.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like
you're doing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's King of the Hill right now for me. And no one has heard of it and no one talks about it. And I think that's a shame, but I'm slowly forcing more and more people to read Gunmetal Gods by Zamil Akhtar. It's always my recommendation when people are like, oh, I need something that's a little bit different. I'm tired of typical fantasy or sci-fi or whatever. I'm like, okay, give Gunmetal Gods a go because I love this book with a passionate flame, and I think it's just a paragon of writing, and I want to hear what you guys thought of it, unless it's bad things, and then I'll kick you off the stream. I've done enough gushing. You guys better back me up on this.
We should have had the intro music playing while you were talking about it. Add some saxophone.
See, based on Dark Souls, the book then. Like, Souls...
It's Dark Souls, the book?
No, it's like the marketing. So Dark Souls 1 had basically no marketing.
Yeah.
But it became the most sold Dark Souls game because so many people talked about it. And obviously the explosion, like 2016, popularity. Yeah, so just keep talking about it, and people will eventually just find out about it.
Yeah. Well, more and more people have started whispering about it. I mean, the author's doing really well. He just finished writing book 4, and I thought it was supposed to be a trilogy, so I've been saving the last book, Elder Epic. I've read book 2. I have book 3, but I've been busy reading other things, and I've kind of been like, oh, I don't want to start it yet because like I don't want to be done. I've been saving it for like a treat, and then he was It turns out it's a 5-book series.
Oh, wow.
So he just finished book 4. So he's starting book 5. Dark Drinker is book 4. I don't know if he's released the title for book 5. Probably, and I forgot it. But yeah, Zamil Akhtar is kind of came out of nowhere for me, and I loved it.
That's good. All right. Should I go for first then, Paul?
Yeah, first reactions. What do you think? Before we get too specific.
All right, let's do the positives first, because I do have some negatives.
Yeah,
But it's mostly positives. Yeah, like
Sure.
it's a very like I enjoy Lovecraft. I think his ideas are quite interesting. So having that like a fantasy, like a Renaissance fantasy setting is quite interesting. Like the whole.
I haven't read any Lovecraft, and I know I should read something.
My gosh.
Yeah. Lovecraft's one of those people where you see him so much that you probably already know what a Lovecraftian book is like.
Yeah, I know a lot of his stories. I just never actually read them from the source. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the aspects. I liked how we saw both sides of the conflict of the book, but we also it's very much a case of it. It almost seems like when it doesn't seem like it is basically a Cold War between the angels and then is it the Jinn, or is it, or Dark Gods or Jinn? I can't remember.
The Jinn, yeah.
Yeah, the Jinn, yeah.
I mean, we don't really know whose side any of those guys are on.
Yeah, because
So,
Yeah.
and I don't know. This isn't super spoilery. This is just like world building stuff. I don't know if they talk about this in book 1. I think it's probably not until book 2, but apparently, like the cosmic beings, they came from a different dimension and basically crash landed on Earth.
Yeah,
And
so
that's
there's a point in the book.
it's
where,
like Earth is like their sandbox, kind of. You know?
Yeah, it's, from what I can remember, I think, is it Mike or is it Keva who has that vision of like a black star or something, and then a bit of that black star like peels off and then becomes like a flame ball or something?
Yeah.
Which I
think it was
thought was like an allegory
It
for
was Micah.
something.
Yeah, no, that's an allusion to the greater world building level. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Like,
cosmic
I guess that was an
world building.
allegory for like a separate like dimension or whatever, like a portal or whatever.
Or like a comet full of gods.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I have all the Lovecraft books. I have the whole collection, and I've read almost all of them. They're incredible, and that literally is the best part of this.
Which one do I start with then?
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
Call of Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah,
That's the go-to.
Classic.
That's the most. That's the classic. My favorite is probably
Not the Mountains of Madness.
that's a great one. Probably The Color Out of Space and
Yeah, that's good.
the oh shoot, what's it?
Isn't Cloud Space set in his fantasy world as well? I think it is, isn't it? Like he has like a fantasy world, which is also set in like Conan the Barbarian's world as well.
Oh, I don't think so. No,
Well,
at least not Color Out of Space.
Yeah, but like it's really funny because I was listening to I'm reading and listening to the Conan Barbarian stories, and they're just eldritch beings there because it turns out Robert E. Howard and H. Lovecraft were friends.
Yeah.
So there's eldritch, like Conan in one story, Conan literally punches an eldritch being. Well, he doesn't kill it, but he pushes it off a ledge by punching and slashing at it. It's great.
Oh, Conan.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, I would say that's my favorite part of this book was the eldritch horror, the outer gods, that style of and what makes them so interesting and so terrifying is how little we know of them and how
also
obscure
the imagery as well.
they are. Yeah,
The imagery is like every time there's a vision, it's always this really weird imagery,
Right.
like what's being shown, and it's really interesting because of how weird it is.
They're used very well. It doesn't fall in the trap that horror movies do of showing you the bad guy
Oh, it
too
can't. It
much,
can
right?
be.
Like you get these glimpses, you get these visions that are very vague, you get these horrific images, and when these gods do show up, it's just for a little blink, and you don't know what their motivation is, and it's terrifying. If you want to think less of me, I'm dumb, and I didn't know that this was a cosmic horror book.
What did the cover art of a giant eldritch
Look.
tentacle octopus not give it
Look,
away?
okay. How many books have you read with a dragon on the cover that don't actually have a dragon in the book? Sometimes the
I have
cover art
650 books back here that are mostly lies.
Sometimes the cover art is metaphorical. And I'm like, oh, that's a fun cover. Is this like some kind of spirit? Is this the god they worship? Yes, it is. And also it's real. Okay? I didn't know that. So this book was billed to me as fantasy that takes place in the Middle East. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I would love to read a fantasy book that's just not generic medieval England.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, ooh, this will be tasty. Ooh, we're smoking some hookah. Ooh, I like this. I like this flavor. This is a fun little vacation. And about halfway through the book, it starts dawning on me. Hold on a second. They keep talking about angels. But every time they describe them, it doesn't sound like the angel that I have in my mind. And I think that's what this book does so brilliantly. It doesn't hold your hand. Sometimes he uses words and just brushes over them. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's a common word. And you don't even realize how horrible it is.
Yeah, it's the quote-unquote biblically accurate angels, aren't they?
Yep.
Yes, it's biblically accurate angels with a billion eyes and tentacles and just 1,000 wings, right? And it's so commonplace in his book, in his world, in his story that he uses the word commonly because it's common to these people, and that's horrifying.
Yeah.
So it took me halfway through the book to realize, oh, wait a second. No, maybe this cover is accurate, and then the monster does show up for a split second. It's literally a scene from the book.
I would have bet that this scene depicted right here did not happen in the book.
Yeah,
and
it's a metaphor. You know, it's not. It's in the book.
Yeah. Like those are some of my favorite cover arts. Like, oh, this can't be literal. This is a metaphor for something. No, this is a literal spoiler on the cover art. You don't think it's a spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved how the same thing, like it's the reality of it and how commonplace it was, because I thought reading it up until that point that all these beliefs that these people have and hold are simply that. They're just beliefs, and they're warring beliefs and viewpoints. It's like, no, there's actual reality, physical reality to their beliefs. Their gods are legitimate, and it's, you know what I mean, the angels they worship or the archangels they worship are actually real. And it added that whole other layer of depth to everything. So it's not just ideological beliefs clashing, but it's actually this other layer of warfare.
But to add another layer on it, like one of the defining characteristics of eldritch horror, cosmic horror, is that it's something indescribable, right? You see it and it makes you go crazy. So what better way to write it than to not describe it? It's genius. It's a genius level of writing that's just, oh yeah, it's on Angel today on my walk home from school.
Yeah, so what's it now? Yeah, from what I got in the first book, it isn't explicitly stated, but it seems that the angels and the jinn are basically in a Cold War, and they're using humanity to fight that Cold War in not Constantinople, because that's what it sounds like the city.
That gets more explicit in book 2. Yeah.
Okay, I thought so, because like from what it's describing, it's like these two factions, they seem to be very powerful, and neither of each other are actually like going for each other. So okay, so it must be a core situation.
Yeah.
Because
It might be more than 3 factions. There are some of these gods that kind of just don't care and just are doing their own thing too. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that counts as a faction.
So who saw the so you saw Keva's daughter dying at the very start? Like I saw it coming.
Okay, well that's another thing we got to mention. The way that Akhtar plots out his stories.
Oh, yeah, that's actually one of my problems with it.
Is something I've never seen before. And I don't think it's a problem at all, and I'll fight you tooth and nail.
With the music from the intro going.
Because, okay, you start reading this book, and you get Micah the Metal, and he's making an army, and you get Keva, and he's in charge of stopping the army, and you're like, okay, and you're getting comfortable in the story of this is going to be a big long setup for a big fight at the end.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
And then it just freaking happens.
Very abruptly.
In the first third of the book, it's over.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what's the rest of the story? Yeah, this is just the first time in such a long time where I just gave up. I wasn't trying to guess where the story was going, and I'm pretty good. I'm really good at spoiling things. My wife hates me. Anytime we're watching a movie, I'll lean over and tell her how it's going to end because it's just so predictable. I've watched so many movies, I've read so many books. It's you can tell when a story is being lazy and traditional, you know? And this book was so refreshing to me and unexpected. I just sat back and enjoyed the ride of this story that just went all over the place. And even though it's not traditional, like by the end, it did kind of have a traditional narrative that pulled together in a very, very satisfying conclusion for me. And you didn't, so you have a problem with it, the way it's plotted.
It's I don't mind how it's plotted per se. It's more just it happened so many times that it was it just became annoying because I could not find. I get the whole point. It's you're not meant to find your balance, but when it happened, like because remember I listened to it on an audiobook. I didn't actually read it. I listened to an audiobook.
So did I.
And it wasn't until like the very end where things like it's what's now. I don't mind all the twists and turns. That's fine.
Yeah.
But the book weirdly has a 3-act structure, whilst also trying not to.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's like okay, so that happened, like the siege happened. And then the whole thing of the Micah happened, and then it gets to the end. It's like, okay, I see how it's all connected, but at times it did feel like a bit like the author wanted to get to a place, and he just shoved a bunch of things into here, but a bunch of things just happened, and then okay, slow down.
See, it all felt
intentional.
It felt intentional to me. Like all these things happening was just like, oh, this is just more.
Oh no, I agree. It felt like something else was going on in the background. Like a bunch of things were going on in the background, and sometimes we're just seeing bits that as a pain to the main story. I like that. It happened so many times. It's like it was overwhelming.
No, I liked it.
Like I enjoyed everything I was shown.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I almost feels like I wish it were longer, just so it could slow down, rest at some point, because after like the first act, it was nothing but speed. Like it did not slow down,
and that's a lot of speed.
It is.
Yeah,
that's quite a few inches of speed right there.
Yeah,
it maybe slows down a little bit when I forget the girl's name.
Sadie,
when she's like kind of trying to rustle up an army. It gets a little slower, but
it does. Yeah, but
it doesn't slow down. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's one of the things I appreciate about again because I stopped reading The Expanse or reading this, and The Expanse, a lot of it is like plot, but it's also it's very characterful as well, and because it's characterful, you just have moments where, yes, things are bad right now, but there's nothing you can do right now. So here we're just gonna sit down, we're gonna have a little chat, we're just gonna like explore these characters, and those moments are they're fun, they're very interesting, and I think GUNMETAL GODS could have done the same kind of like
the whole book could have been just Act 1.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
I thought it was going to be right.
Yeah.
And it would have still been a good story.
Yeah,
it would have been more character driven, and that's not what the story he wanted to tell.
But I just would like some moments of just slowing down the plot, because going at breakneck speed all that time, it wasn't overwhelming. It was just almost overwhelming.
It's different, and that's why I liked it. It was such a different experience.
It was paced differently, and I agree. It kind of subverted some expectations, kind of in this like you said, with that initial battle sequence or the big, what we thought was going to be the climactic battle.
Right. And you guys thought that too,
Keva
right?
Keva wakes up, and it's like, oh, it's over. Yeah. And you gotta like, and even his daughter, I forget his daughter's name. Right, like the whole time she's been built up as this girl boss kind of a character, kind of rolling my eyes, and it's like, oh wait, no, she's not a girl boss. She just got just got murdered.
Yeah, then a Jin decides to take her form and do a lot of things.
That's a part that happens. Yeah.
Yes.
However, my mom was asking me for a book to read, and I was like, normally I suggest GUNMETAL GODS.
But there's
a part of the book you're not gonna like. Okay, just heads up. Mm-hmm. There's a freaky scene in the middle, but it's not what you think, and it's there on purpose. And I think it adds a lot to the story.
Because it literally explains like later on what the meaning behind that happening is. I was like, oh, that's bad. Like that's even worse than I realized.
Yeah, it's gross.
I don't know. Or always like it's gross, but then like the actual it's gross. But when you actually understand what that actually means,
it wasn't gratuitous. It wasn't just added on. Like Stephen King.
In the moment, it felt gratuitous, and then you're like, oh wait, no, this is on purpose.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like it's on purpose, and also this will have consequences later on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I get what you're saying, Acquisitioner, with like kind of the speed, and it wasn't so much the speed to me, but it was like that jarring aspect. Like you're going fast, but then you're taking very sharp turns. It reminded that whole fight sequence or the battle sequence reminded me of No Country for Old Men, which you spend the whole movie with this the main character, and then he dies off camera, and then you see just his body kind of, and you're like, wait a second, like what?
Hold on.
You feel a little bit cheated, and you know why they did it that way, but you do feel like, wait a second, we weren't even a part of this battle. We didn't go through Labyrinthos. We didn't see any of this. We just kind of skipped ahead, and we feel.
To me, I think that's a perfect comparison, though. Sorry, you go first.
First of all, I haven't watched No Country for Old Men yet.
Spoiler.
I know it's alright. I don't mind.
It's really good.
For me,
it's pretty obviously a tragedy, though. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So it's not that much of a spoiler.
It's still worth a watch.
Oh, it's amazing.
But for the for like Labyrinthos, like there were some obvious things like the reason why for me it was very obvious why we didn't get to see Labyrinthos, because the writer wants to see this for later on because it still has to be spooky the second time.
Yeah.
And so that's why we get Keva going into it slightly, and then later on we go fully into it. It's like, okay, that's why. I was like, I knew there was a reason why. It's like, okay, that makes more sense.
But I think the No Country for Old Men is an apt comparison because, when you first see it, you're like, hold on, I wanted to see that happen. Mm-hmm. But then after the fact, the more you think about it, you're like, no, that's actually a better choice, right? And that's how I feel with a lot of the choices made in this book. While jarring initially, I can't stop thinking about it. Like, this book is wonderful. It stuck with me more than a lot of other books, where I just keep going back to the themes and the way that it's structured. Of this is genius to me. And it might be a little too fast, but I don't think it. The problem with keeping a fast pace is that it'll normally sacrifice character growth, and I don't think this book does that. Like I think the two main characters are incredibly fleshed out, and I like this book, guys.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. They are and they aren't. There is some. I did feel cheated a little bit as well with Keva, because at one point he's like, we know what he's going, even from the back cover, we know what he's going to become. He's going to become this great warrior, and so there's going to be that he's not going to be this fat. And
it just happens. Yeah,
that's it. That part is like,
it just happens.
You didn't earn this. Even though you were kind of coming around and were starting that journey of redemption, that journey of building yourself up into this great thing that you kind of never were. Then all of a sudden he's just gifted all these powers and a sexy young body, and you're like, well, okay.
Well, he was. That's the thing, though.
As well.
I feel like that would have been. I can understand a little bit of disappointment there, but it would be a whole lot different if this was just a nobody who's just granted powers. But he was a warrior, right? This is a retired guy.
But even he has that sense of fraud, because he's like, I don't actually remember killing everybody said I killed this. What do they call them? I forget what they call them. The wizard, the wizards,
the magi.
The magi. I killed one of them, but he doesn't actually remember doing it. So it's kind of a chaotic situation. And so he already kind of seemed like a fraud. He's getting beat up by his daughter, 15-year-old girl, things like that.
But at one point, he was a great warrior. Even not remembering killing the magi, like he was at the top of his game. He was a good, and now he's gotten old and fat, and so his revitalization didn't bother me as much. Right? It's kind of just like, hey. You're back to bother
me, but it's like, okay, I know why you wanted to do this, because it's very obvious that the writer wanted to have Keva become young and fit again.
Yeah.
Because plot. And I get that, but at the same time, it's like,
sure.
It's like,
go ahead.
I don't know.
I think for me that it kind of bothered me, but I kind of put a pause on being bothered, only because he's not a good wizard right now. He doesn't know anything about it. He has to go train.
Yeah.
And so that I kind of suspended my disappointment to be like, okay, well, maybe that's, maybe this is just, I can't think of a good example. Maybe this is him just getting that initial jump in skill, or this initial leveling up, but his actual growth is going to come in book 2. So that's kind of why, and I don't know if that's the case. I might be disappointed.
Yeah, I hope so too, because that was one of the things that I had in my back of mind as well.
Well, okay. He's not a main character in book 2. He's a side character.
Wait, what?
So there's growth, but you don't get the first person of it.
Oh, that's lame.
That's kind of lame.
It works. It works.
Okay.
My quick spiel on book 2, I think it's better.
Mm-hmm.
Except the ending. The ending's not bad. It's a good book, but the majority of the book, like the first 3/4, I think is written better, structured better. It has some moments where it slows down just a little bit.
That's good.
I think it's I think it expands on everything good about book 1 and does a better job at it. And the ending is fine, but it's a good ending. But the problem is the ending to Gunmetal Gods is poetic and perfect, and it just didn't quite hit the same notes for me in book 2. But yeah, book 2 has 2 completely different characters, right? Well, because spoilers, one of the characters dies in the end of book 1, right? And
which I wasn't even sure he did for sure.
Oh no, he's dead.
Okay.
That the boy killed the little boy, stabs him.
I
in the
remember
heart.
that, but then it's like so much stuff happens, and some, what
I mean,
I'm just
there-
like,
sure, there's
Like,
cosmic
like,
gods. He might come
remember,
back later.
literal-
Sure,
literal
right?
dead emperor comes back and appears at
You're right.
at
Yeah.
the city.
exactly. Which
And, like,
that part I did not like.
Oh, I thought that was cool.
No, I initially liked it, but then like after it ended, it's like, oh, okay, so he just came back because the Jinn brought him back.
Yeah.
But also, it's really weird because like it's
Yeah.
But so-
That's exactly how I felt about it. Like, okay, he's like, honestly, if I was to jump off at a part and be like, okay, that would have been the part, because then the view switched to his viewpoint as well, and we don't care about this dead guy.
I like
And
it.
everybody else was just like, okay, I guess you're in charge now, dude. And it's just, it was so, yeah.
For,
And that's
for
a
me,
that's a
it was-
nitpick, but it didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
for me, it was like, okay, it's like, yeah, it's like this guy's dead, and because it was one of the only things I did predict, like, oh, this guy's gonna die again or something, like something bad's gonna happen to him, because his inclusion here makes no sense, like the greater narrative. So something else must be going on. Lo and behold, yeah, I was right.
Mm.
Yeah. We have to talk about the other Magi, Keva's ex-wife, who he thought was dead.
Yes.
Absolutely fucker. Like, I hate her.
Just the worst
absolutely
person.
no
in
back.
all-
Yeah, absolutely no backbone, no spine, no spirit.
Cheats on him with his sworn enemy.
Yeah, Kevin, you could do better, bud.
Yeah, he definitely can.
Well, he does. He gets Sadie for a year.
For like a month. Oh yeah, for a year or whatever.
Yeah, and then he stabs his wife. He's like, oh, he's so sad. I didn't feel sad at all. It's like, yes, finally.
Well, now he's got he's a level 2 mage now.
Yeah. Oh, well, level 3 technically, because
Level
remember he
three
had 2
technically, yeah.
mage masks.
You're right.
Yes, level 3.
It's a level 3 mage.
Yeah, but like, I just
Without grinding, he just
I know.
stumbled across it.
Hey,
Oh, absolute
you know.
Deus Ex Machina, man. Come on.
one time
like,
it could
oh,
have used a little bit of grinding, you know.
Oh, you well, here was emotionally grinding.
Yeah, his wife is horrible.
It's like I love. Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about the story. It's like it shows you how horrible people justify themselves. Like the whole story of Micah is him justifying. Like the very first thing this not Christian does is commit slavery, and it's like screw you.
Well, I'm gonna rat you out here. I love that you texted me when you started reading. The first thing you texted me is Micah the Metal. He's my favorite. I love him so much. He's a role model, and I want him to be my father. and then 2 minutes later, you texted me. Never mind.
Yes, the first thing he does is he commits slavery, and it's like fuck you.
Yeah, that's another, and it's a minor nitpick, but it's something that kind of made me like roll my eyes a little bit. Was Micah the Metal? Like we know he's called Micah the Metal, right? You know where I'm going with this already.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he becomes half metal.
It was cool.
Here's the thing, right?
That's when
love-
he should have been called Metal, Micah the Metal.
Yeah.
After that, not
Oh, yeah.
before. It's kind of like
I agree with that. I do agree.
It's
The
poetic.
The thing is, though,
No.
I love like
I thought that arm
melodrama
was going to
and
last
cheese
a little
stuff
bit
like that.
longer, though, too.
like yeah, I love melodrama and cheesy stuff. So I never minded it. I thought it was okay. That's kind of funny.
He only gets to use the metal arm for like 2 seconds of a fight, and it gets torn right off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know. I thought the imagery was fun. He gets a metal arm, and now he
was
is the metal.
It was fine. It didn't bother me, but my eyes hit the top of my skull just for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Just, okay, now he's real metal.
One of the things I appreciate about the book too is, I mean, this is diversity. Right? This is how diversity should be. I would love to see a Gunmetal Gods adaptation, right, rather than just repurposing or race swapping characters.
'cause, like-
Because it's so. I mean, you can tell it's just a completely different culture, and I feel like a lot of the storytelling differences that or things that we're not expecting, a lot of it comes from that culture. This book, and not just because it's from the Middle East, but it reminds me of a movie that I saw a bunch of times as a kid. I think it was called Arabian Nights, where it's the story is it's this princess who gets married to this like dictator guy who it was like some political marriage, and she's pretty much doomed, right? She knows that he's going to kill her because he had to marry her for some reason. But he wants to dispose of her, and so she extends her life and ingratiates herself with her husband King by telling him stories every night.
That's literally Arabian Nights. What's the name? It's before the Ottoman Empire. What are they called again? The Persian. That's it. It's a bunch of Persian tales.
Yes.
That got put into a single story called the Arabian.
Yeah. So every night it's a different story, and she ends it on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
So that he doesn't kill her. And you realize, oh, this isn't all one story. This is a bunch of different stories that you've cobbled together, and now you're telling a story about the side character from the side character, right? And it goes through the original story of Aladdin and the 40 Thieves and all these things, right? And it's cheesy. It was a low budget movie, but I really liked it as a kid. I haven't watched it in years, so it might be terrible. So don't judge me. Right. I liked it when I was a kid, okay? There's a lot of movies I liked as a kid that I've watched now and they aren't that great.
Yeah.
Like 1940s hardcover edition of the Arabian Nights. I'm excited. I'll get to it one of these years.
It's like
but it was a really cool story, and it is not very traditional, right? Because it's like it's one story that's intentionally not one story, but it's wearing the skin suit of a singular story.
Yeah, like the whole point of 101 Arabian Nights was to basically centralize a bunch of different fairy tales into one place. So it could be retold, but also be one continuous narrative.
But this book reminds me a lot of just the different storytelling, right? The different tropes from a different culture, and I love exposing myself to new cultures that way.
Yeah.
And just learning this different, completely different brand of storytelling.
Well, despite the world building in this being really good, one of the things I think this book does kind of rely on is your knowledge of the real world situation that was the Ottoman Empire versus the Byzantine Empire or Constantinople. Because if you don't have that knowledge, some of the things don't really make sense.
Right. I don't know a whole lot about that, though.
Throughout the book, there's this thing of Sadie not wanting to kill her brother, which doesn't really make sense in the narrative of the book. But in the Ottoman Empire, it didn't really have a proper succession in place. Whenever an Ottoman died, all the princes and princesses would basically go to war with each other, and then whoever killed each other would ascend the throne. So Sadie not wanting to kill her brother is kind of a big thing, actually, but it's just not really explained.
See, I accepted it though. I think it was explained pretty well in the book. It's like, hey, yeah, this isn't a choice that I would make, but this is a different culture, right?
I know, but that's the thing though. I wish she actually explained that a bit more. Because when you actually put it into the context of, this is an analogy for the Ottoman Empire, that's a really big thing for royalty to do.
Right.
It's like, whoa. Compared to how it's treated in the books. Yes, it's treated as a big thing, but you don't understand the gravity unless you understand the historical context.
Okay, so you want your books to hold your hand and I'm just kidding.
Yes, I want to explain what this thing called an apple is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly isn't that big of a deal. It's just I wish it did explain a bit more of not relying again. It's one of those things where you don't need it to enjoy the book, but having that context makes certain things way more interesting and have way more gravity to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What else? The soundtrack was pretty good.
The what?
Nah, I'm joking. The soundtrack.
Does the audiobook have a soundtrack?
It has a little jingle at the start and the end.
Yeah, it's got a little jingle.
No, I wouldn't want this to ever be adapted into Hollywood.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want
only because Anna Taylor-Joy would be Keva.
Who?
Right, Anya Taylor-Joy would be cast as Keva. Mm-hmm. Right. No, I don't want. That's the thing. My brother and I joke about it all the time. Like he used to have this big long list of movies that he wanted.
What the
to
hell
get
is that?
adapted.
Oh, sorry. I just googled what the hell is Taylor-Joy.
Dune.
I was like,
she's in Dune now. Okay.
Wait,
She's in
what?
everything now.
Wait, is she the Little Mermaid?
No, that's the one who has the same name as Storm from the X-Men.
Okay.
I can't remember.
I just saw her eyes
Bailey.
like so
I thought
far
you
apart.
Aurora
Yeah.
Monroe.
I thought it was her. Like her eyes are so far apart. I thought it was the chick from Little Mermaid adaptation.
She is kind of fishy. He would star in Shadow Out of Innsmouth, which is a great Lovecraft
Excuse me.
story.
So what would you say?
She would star very well in Shadow Out of Innsmouth, or Shadow in Innsmouth. It's another very good.
Innsmouth.
Innsmouth, thank you. Yeah.
You have to remember, Muth is a British name.
It's been well established that we're stupid here, so.
Yeah. Well, like, I love the Lord of the Rings films. They are amazing. Some of the best ones ever made. But because they're made by a New Zealander and Americans, they pronounce it Shire and not Shire. It's pronounced Shire, not Shire. Like,
I've listened to the audiobook. They call it the Shire in the audiobook too.
Yeah, I know, because they're Americans and they're wrong.
No, it's a
Shire.
British guy reading.
Yorkshire. Nobody calls it Yorkshire. That's American. It's Yorkshire.
Yorkshire.
It's Worcester. It's Worcester. Worcestershire. Not Worcestershire.
Right. But I feel like that works if it's at the end of a name. But if you're like, oh, I live in the Shire.
Yeah, but you need to come to Britain because that's how people speak here. They call it the Shire.
I live in the Shire.
The Shire.
Shire sounds better.
American.
Look, granted, I prefer a lot of British pronunciations, and I think you're wrong on this one.
Aaliyah? Oh, okay. So she's Aaliyah Atreides, an uncredited cameo. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what she is. Oh, she's with the voice of Princess Peach. Okay, in the Mario movie.
Yeah, she's in the one scene in Dune Part 2.
Okay. Oh,
She
she's
was
the Dark
Furiosa. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not in the Dark Crystal. She just looks like a gelfling.
No, wait.
Oh.
Wait, she also in the main role of the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance.
The
Is she
TV show.
really?
Yeah,
That's actually funny because she literally looks like a gelfling. Like, not even joking. She looks like a gelfling.
That name's aged well, hasn't it?
Anyway, the point of the story. The point of the story is I don't want modern Hollywood to adapt this movie, but it would make a great movie if someone did it faithfully.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want this book to be a movie. I want this book to be a TV show.
Yeah.
I am sick and tired of things being adapted into movies, because unless they're done really well, like Lord of the Rings, it's better TV show.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's not like a massive budget TV show, as long as it gets the ideas across, and it doesn't require, and like unlike Dune, which requires a huge budget, or as long as it doesn't require that much budget, I think it could be. I think it could be good. Because
I think this budget would have to be massive because we're talking sets like the size of armies. That's not even getting into any
you
of
can
the,
CGI and just a bunch of chick photography. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
but that's pretty expensive too.
In the first 3 episodes, you're gonna have the sack of a city. Burn it down and then rebuild it, and then the finale. You're gonna have these crazy CGI monsters, but then the finale is a huge battle too. I guess it's kind of staged on a beach though, right? Is the big last stand? It's on a beachfront, right?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be super expensive, but you'd have a lot of extras. Yeah.
Well, it's like that's the thing. The Eldritch Gods, you could make them as like puppeteers.
Yeah.
like
Little puppets.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
No. You need to do it. You need to do it Godzilla style.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, a guy
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a suit.
Yeah, just a guy in a suit with a bunch of he's just he's got like
Oh, yeah.
those little sticks that move the tentacles,
The
right? They
blinking
That'd be great. But yeah, it's like
and everyone's like,
could do that,
I saw an angel.
I saw an angel just come with the frog. Come with the frog here.
His Jin, Keva's Jin. I can't remember his name. That guy will not translate well into screen.
It's
No.
a bird, right?
It's like
It's
a chicken
Birdman
boy.
thing.
It's a
Yeah,
chicken boy.
Birdman. Yeah.
I got a picture of him in the book, and it almost made me not
Picture
want to
book?
read the book.
There's pictures in the book.
It's a picture
can you
book.
see
I didn't
it?
even know.
Oh, it's what? Is that actually in the book?
He's holding shoes.
That's marvelous.
That's great. Yeah,
This
it
will
literally
not
is a.
translate well.
Yeah, no. Like, unless it's fully animatronic, no, it will not.
Oh,
No,
the
have
face
you-
of a
even
boy.
Have you
Yeah,
seen not the stupid remake, but have you seen Clash of the Titans, the old one
course.
with
Oh,
the
of course.
mechanical
Back when I was a
owl?
kid, yeah.
I feel like that could work.
Like it feels like they'll have
Like
to
a stop motion metal owl, right? Come on. But
I
with the
like
head of a little boy.
have... well, what's the thing though? They are eldritch beings, the Jinn.
Uh-huh.
So you could have it be you intentionally account for the uncanny valley and you design around it. That way, yes, it is creepy, but that's the point. They aren't human. They look human, but they aren't. So you lean into that. Instead of making it like realistic, quote unquote. Yeah, you have a style and not stunning realistic graphics.
Yeah, animatronic or practical effects would look a lot.
Yeah,
better.
Mark Clock is open.
No,
now.
we're still
All
talking
good
about
now.
it. We just keep getting sidetracked about little chicken boys.
And what was this
Um,
alcoholic milk they're drinking the whole time? What was it called? Do you guys remember?
Oh,
The whole time they're drinking this fermented milk.
Oh, yeah. What's it called?
Not hooker. It's the hooker's like the is the lich. It's a not
You're thinking of
thing.
horchata.
They're hashish.
Yeah,
Um,
they're
I'm
not
gonna
weed.
find it. I'm gonna find it because
There's-
Do
they
you
were.
think King's Landing had it wrong, sending criminals to defend the wall against Night King? That what? That's unrelated, but that wasn't King's Landing.
Right. But also that's also pretty standard in real world history, though. Like you often sent. It wasn't solely made of criminals, but that was as a punishment instead of execution. You'd make them serve as soldiers.
That's one modern thing, really. But yeah. Also, that is complete. The Night's Watch was a thing way before King's Landing was a
Yeah.
thing. It's I don't want to get into Song of Ice and Fire.
I'm
George
reading it.
Martin.
I've got like
So-
30 minutes left on Fire
I've
and
only
Blood.
read the first book, so I'm out.
Yeah,
of this,
I have as
this
well.
book.
The best I can say to you is, if you ever want to actually read it, just read the chapter summaries on the wikis, because it is, yeah.
Yeah, I won't start the main series unless he finishes it, which is probably never going to happen.
He
It's never gonna happen.
won't.
It's never gonna happen.
But Fire and Blood is pretty great. I'm enjoying it a lot. He's a good writer. I just wish he had better. He needs it. He needs an assistant. Honestly, it's what he needs.
But it's not just that. It's also because he's a nihilist.
Yeah.
It's also because he has said himself that when he knows where the story is going to go, like definitively, he loses motivation to write a story. So, my friend's theory is George Martin knows exactly where the story is going to go.
Yeah.
And because of that, he's just lost all motivation. Like, people think, oh, he's lost motivation because he's like doesn't know where to go. My theory is no, it's the opposite. The opposite's the problem. He knows exactly where it's going to go, and he's just lost all motivation.
That's frustrating.
Didn't he sign off on the or endorse the decision that the gang made in the show? That's what he had planned, is what I've been told.
Well, they
kind
did
of.
because he did talk to them about the ending, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think the ending at face value is bad. I think it makes sense. The problem is how it got there.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is the book and the show are after season 2. The book and the show are completely separate stories. Like I have a friend. I watched the show with a friend who read all the books, and he said, "Yeah, no. After season 2, like book 1, it's a bit different, but it's mostly on track. Season 2, though, it is completely different, and it just gets more and more and more different to the point where, like, the whole point of A Song of Ice and Fire is magic is returning. The Mace are trying to cover it up, but magic is returning, and they can't stop it. But in the show, magic just basically goes from a fantasy show to a medieval show because magic just disappears. Apart from the dragons, it just disappears. So
it starts creeping in later seasons, but yeah, it was too little, too late.
Exactly, like yeah.
Well, back to Gunmetal Gods. My favorite part is when he murdered all the kids.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, did he drown one as well?
I mean, come on, that's a great scene. He's just in the harem, just executing.
Yeah.
It's so brutal.
It's just kids, but yeah, it's a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, any goodwill anybody had towards Micah was officially gone after that point. After he's trampling babies underfoot, you're like, all right, he's the villain. Like, in case you were wondering, he is the villain.
Yeah. So the thing for me was like, the dude is literally like trying to say, oh yes, I am a good, not Christian, and it's like, screw you so much.
Yeah, I also really like I like how the ending is handled. I liked his I can't remember any of their names because it's been like 2 years for me now. But I liked all of Micah's buddies, his band of buddies.
Yeah.
They were all super fun, and especially the gun guy, who's couldn't tell you what his name was, but the guy who's got guns and he helps.
Jouz. I think it's Jews or something like that.
Yes,
Jaws.
Something to that effect.
Jaws.
Is something like that. I think
the acquisitioner will tell us the proper way to say it.
Sorry, it's pronounced Jews.
It's pronounced Jaws. We put the Jaws in the oven.
He was great, and who did he save the prostitute or no? Sorry, not the prostitute. His like last stand where he defends the mom, right, of the last heir alive. Was pretty fun. And then after it was over, they were like, "Hey, are you gonna help out?" He's like, "No, I think I'm good. I think I'm just gonna peace out."
I'm going back home. I'm going back to carving statues. We're good.
You're my man, right? I'm not going back in Labyrinthos. Screw that.
Yeah, it's like
I thought that was really good.
Yeah, the supporting cast of the villain of Micah especially was strong, I think. But the one difficulty I had was I started reading it and then I got busy, and so I had to set it aside. And I came back at about I left about the third mark and then came back and finished it, and I couldn't remember. The cast is so big, robust, and so huge. And some people are just like mentioned early on, and then they come back, and it's like, I forgot who you were.
And because it's indie, there's not a good wiki for this series.
Oh yeah, that's the problem with that. And like at some point, Zamil, you just got to do it yourself. Like update your website so that you just have all I need is just a list of characters. Yes,
that's it. I need their names and their descriptions, and because some of them show up in book 2, and I was like, I don't remember who this guy is.
In the book we have at the very end, we do have some of the characters.
Put it on your website. Put it on your website.
We do have some of the the terms.
I have the audiobook,
but not all of them. You know what I mean? But not all of them, and it's basically just the countries. What's a Jin? What's a Yuna, the continent? Things like that. Zabadar.
Yeah,
but none of the characters. So I'm like,
it's one of those things where. Obviously, reading multiple books in a series will help with that. You just get to know characters. Like it's like The Expanse. The Expanse is has a lot of characters in it because it's a long series. But the characters you need to know,
you know quite well because there's so many books in the series.
Yeah.
Like in GUNMETAL GODS, there's so many characters. I don't remember half of them, or more than that. But it's just it's just so many.
Yeah, I will be rereading this one pretty soon.
Yeah, and there was one character too who was kind of a traitor, and like kind of a spy working on both sides. I can't remember his name. His name was spelled almost like Alucard, something or Alcade or something like that. But I thought he was a new character because I hadn't I hadn't read about him in so long. And I'm like, okay. Then he talks about used to be with Mike. I was like, when was this? Oh, I kind of remember that. Like it was.
Yeah, I think he had like a couple lines, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then he's apparently he's not traitor. It's more like Mike is now became like overly evil, and something's wrong, and he needs to figure out what the hell's going on there.
Yeah.
But also, I'm gonna try and not kill him or something. Does he want to? I can't remember.
I don't actually think that he had a resolution to his arc. I don't think. I think he just kind of came back and then he was just gone and got written out or something. I remember being disappointed. Like what afterwards? Like wait a minute, what happened with that Alucard?
Yeah, he kind of shows up. I'm pretty sure he's one of the characters in book 2 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, he has to be because like his whole thing is I have no side but my own. I want to be on like the side of. I don't remember. It's been
I know. I need to reread it. And I wouldn't have to reread it if there was a freaking Wikipedia page.
We know you're watching, Zamil.
Yeah. Hey, not just anyone can make those Wikipedia pages.
Dragonlance. I haven't read a single Dragonlance book.
Me neither. So. I have no plans to. From what I remember of Dragonlance, like apparently the first 3 are good, but then it just goes nowhere.
Yeah, the only that's Forgotten Realms too, right?
No, it's Dragonlance setting.
Oh, but it's part of Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Yes, it's a Dungeons and Dragons property
so
set
it's
in the Dragonlance setting.
Got it. It's not the same world as the Drizzt books.
I don't think so.
Because I've read some of Drizzt, and I like that. But I haven't read any Dragonbone.
Yeah, that's R.L. Salvatore. I don't.
Forgotten.
It doesn't look like it. Yeah, Legend of Drizzt. Yeah, I think Drizzt is from Forgotten Realms, which is a shame.
I know that for a fact. That's why I said it.
No, Forgotten Realms is bad. You're wrong, Patel.
Fighting with the chat.
I will fight that. Of all the settings, Forgotten Realms is the worst. And it's only become worse over time.
Yeah, I haven't read anything beyond Drizzt in Forgotten Realms, but Drizzt is pretty cool.
You don't miss out on much, honestly.
Yeah. So, does this book make you want to continue? Are you guys going to go on to book 2?
I'll go for first, Bob.
You what? Sorry.
I'll let Bob go first because I'm kind of mixed on this.
I'm also kind of mixed on it. Like I enjoyed it. I really did. But I don't listen to audiobooks. I probably should start, but I like the physical. I like actually reading it. And it's so bloody big. It was big. It's a big book.
It's for me, it was a mix of it's big, it's also bleak. Like the stories are dark. It's very grimdark. And like I'm fine with grimdark. I enjoy grimdark, but I can't binge read grimdark. It has to be when I'm feeling good, and I am not reading a series and a bunch of stipulations.
Yeah. So I don't really know. Like,
Mark, book 2 is a sequel with different characters. It takes place in the neighboring country with 2 different main characters, but not Micah. Who's
Keva?
Who's the Keva, and Sadie, and a bunch of the other the trader guy and the gun guy. They show up and influence the story.
Okay.
And I don't know who's the main character of book 3, but I'm pretty sure. I think it might go back to Keva. So.
Okay. Yeah, because
I can look
Kevin
it
does
up.
seem like the actual main character of the story. So
Tell you what I can do. I can pull up the audiobook because the chapters tell you who's the character is.
Yep.
It's not downloaded yet, though, is it?
No,
I did. I downloaded it because I intended on reading it. Let's see. Don't play the book. Yeah, it's Keva and Sierra and a couple other. There's a lot more characters in.
I'm not surprised. It's the same with the Expanse series. The first book had like a couple different names. Like there's one in the prologue, then like 2 throughout, and then at the end it changes perspective. Then like this book 6 now, it's like every other chapter is a different name. There's like 4 different loops, like 4 different characters per loop.
So kind of like how there's 2 main characters in book 1 and only one of them makes it to the end. Mm-hmm. Spoilers: they do the same thing in book 2, and then book 3 is the two characters that are left. I think.
Okay.
I really liked book 2. It's dope. He does a very similar thing where, and it's become a trope in his books now, where like the first third of the book ends with just something crazy happening, like the siege of the city. Book 2 gets real juicy and then slows down a little bit, but then the finale's really fun. Yeah. So there's two main characters in book 2, and then book 3 is the 2 surviving characters of books 1 and 2. Okay. There you go. And also a third character, and I don't know where he's from, but apparently Basil's a character. Basil is there's 3 main characters in book 3.
Okay. Yeah.
It's Keva, and one of the, I don't want to tell you the name. I said it already. Spoiler.
I've forgotten about it. Because again, there's just so many names in these books that is. Yeah.
The series reminds you of Game of Thrones. Lots of horrible people. Yeah, but there are good people too, and there aren't very many good people in Game of Thrones. They all die really quickly.
Because George Martin's a nihilist.
And that is, and I like this series too because it's dark, but it's not nihilistic. Even in the face of this cosmic horror, like there's still like good in this universe, and there's always hope. Like book 1 ends pretty hopeful. Like it's kind of, I'd compare it to the Helm's Deep. Very very similar. They come in and save at the last minute, and when you think all is lost, right? The other guys show up and turn the pitch of the battle.
Yeah.
I mean that's not just a Lord of the Rings thing. It's been done before, right?
Yeah.
But it has a similar payoff in that scene. Where, look to me on the 3rd day. Mm-hmm. I'll be riding down the beach with some horsey boys.
With the horse. Oh, okay. One more thing. That pirate was so cringe.
The pirate?
Redbeard.
Okay.
Honestly, until you just said that, I completely forgot he existed. Like, honestly, that whole plot line, I think, that plot line is the weakest part. Because I just completely blocked that entire thing out of my mind.
I agree with that one. Sure.
But I think because of what I do on my channel and how I read, I'm ultra critical. Not because I want to be critical or because I have disdain for anything, but because I'm looking for humor.
Right.
Well, I'm the opposite.
So I'm very analytic and pulling everything apart to see what I can get. And yeah, when there's a pirate named Redbeard.
We have to remember the main antagonist is called Micah the Metal before he has a metal hand.
It's an arm, okay? His whole arm.
Sorry, it's her arm. Yeah, sorry.
Who was saying they read Lightblade? Was that just Mark Clark?
Lightbringer.
You read Lightblade as well. So I haven't read that one yet.
But
apparently that's the same author. Is a whole different series.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking something else. I thought you meant Lightbringer, not Lightblade.
You read Lightblinger. Okay, yeah, that's why it's confusing, right?
Blinger? Light Blinger? Oh,
Zamil Akhtar has another Zamil Akhtar has another series called Light Blade, and you didn't read that. Mark Clark, my channel member, read that, but you read Lightbringer, which is also really good. And
it's very good.
Have you gotten to book 4?
No, I've just read book 1
because okay.
After I finish The Expanse, I'm gonna read the Lightbringer saga.
So the last thing I want to mention about the writing style of Gunmetal Gods is something that I had not seen before until I read Lightbringer book 4, where and I think it's a really cool tool that I want to use if I ever get around to writing. Is I didn't know you could just skip stuff in books.
Oh, have you read Dune? Dune skips a lot of stuff.
Yeah, okay, but yeah. I guess Dune does a lot of skipping.
So do you mean in terms of you thought this next part would be very, very important?
Yeah.
But it's basically what happens between book 1 and book 2 of Dune.
Mark. Pulp mortem joke.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
I reviewed for my son's birthday. I reviewed a little book he wrote.
Amphibuds. I haven't seen that video yet, so.
I need to watch the videos because I have not seen before.
It's cute.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think it's obviously if you do it too much, it could be detrimental. But it's it's a very bold choice to just be like, hey, this battle's going to happen off screen, or you thought this was going to be the story, and we're just skipping along so that we can tell more of the story. And it skips what it does. It does keep the pacing very fast paced if you just skip over the boring stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd seen it done before. I'd never seen it done to that extent that I had seen in Gunmetal Gods. And Lightbringer book 4 does a very similar thing where it's a war campaign, and they just skip over all the crap. And they just jump to the interesting bits. I was like, this is so refreshing. I didn't know you could do this in books. Just skip over the boring stuff and just write the good stuff.
Do you know why that is? It's because in novels, you're expected to read about that stuff, thanks the Wheel of Time series.
Thanks to Wheel of Time and George R. R. Martin, right? Which I also love. That's not bad. It's a style.
But the reason why, for me, I didn't even pick up on that, really, apart from the first twist. Because I've read Pulp. Again, I am reading through Conan the Barbarian stories that would be a taste what I put out. And it's it's a very... Because of how short Pulp stories are, they skip upon a bunch of stuff. If anything, it's more of a surprise when Pulp stories feel more like novels because they don't skip over a bunch of stuff than when they just skip.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of Conan is just skipping around to the best parts.
That's the problem, Mark Clark. He's writing more books, but it's in his other universe, his Night Angel. So no more Lightbringer. I mean, you got 5, so.
Yeah, you got 5. You'd be happy. But yeah, it's
I haven't read a lot of Pulp, right? So maybe I'm just not used to that style. But I guess I did read.
I don't recommend the Robert E. Howard's Conan the Cimmerian Barbarian.
Yeah, I've heard they're great. I plan on reading some Conan eventually. I just read.
I recommend you reading them.
Elric of Melniboné, right? And,
that's great.
And that one. I guess technically it skips a lot of stuff, but it's usually stuff between books, right? It's just, hey, I want to tell this little story, and he does a lot of other stuff, and then I want to tell this little story.
Elric actually, Elric does actually skip up a bunch of stuff as well.
Right.
Yeah, but so the audiobook for Conan the Cimmerian Barbarian it's fine, but the stories themselves, they're fine because the Conan stories. The problem is the narrator. I personally don't like the narrator for the Conan books. I find his voice very boring, and only when he's speaking as Conan do I actually enjoy the books. Other times, his voice isn't bad. It's just the way he speaks and just the monotoneness. It just sounds so boring. So it makes the fine stories a lot worse because you're listening to this guy for 35 hours if you don't speed it up, which is a lot of time.
Yeah, my minimum read speed is 1.5, and I'll sometimes depend. It depends on who's reading, right? Sometimes people read faster, but I'll usually hover around 1.75 or 2 times speed.
Yeah, I
just because I want to read more books.
Yeah,
and
for me, for me, it's a case of like once I discovered like speed up on like YouTube first, I changed it out on like Audible. It's like, oh, a lot of narrators speak very slowly to be articulate, and because of that, they go really, really slow. Like, The Wheel of Time is a perfect example. It's very articulate, but boy, howdy are they slow. Like, how long is Wheel of Time? Let me find that.
Oh, man, the average book is like
a Lord of the Rings,
30 hours.
Yeah. It's Dune. Here it is.
The Wheel of Time, it's very, very long.
Yeah, finished reading. Yeah, 40. Last Memory of Light is over 40 hours long.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's one of the longer ones, though. Let's see.
38 hours.
I've got book 5 right now on my phone, and that one is 36.
Yeah, 30
and a half.
Yeah, I don't think a single book, apart from the prequel.
That's one of the longer ones too, though. I think the shortest one's like 27, maybe.
New Springs is the shortest because it's 12 hours long.
Right, that doesn't count.
That's a struggle for me because I can read so much faster than an audiobook. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why you change the speed.
Yeah.
But like, still be reading like as fast as I can read.
Right. So reason why
I have dyslexia, man. So I have the opposite problem. I'm a slow reader, and when I get an audiobook, I'm like, oh, I can finish books, right? Like I read the first 3 Stormlight Archive books physically. And then I've only recently started audiobooks. Like maybe it's been like 2, maybe 3 years.
Okay.
And
I should probably try. I really should.
I've read more books, like 3 times as many books as I've read my entire life in these last 3 years.
Yeah, it's like I agree. Like I read a lot in high school, but audiobooks, pulp, it's a skill. Like like you learn to read fast because you've read so many books.
Yeah.
Listening, even just like listening and concentrating, that is a skill. You have to learn that skill.
Oh yeah.
Like for me, I learned to eat quite quickly because I listen to audiobooks when I'm on the move, when I'm walking, when I'm going somewhere. Because either that or watching something. And I want to listen to my story rather than watch something because it takes up data.
Mm-hmm. Articus, thank you so much. I did write a pretty dope song in 24 hours. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's that went live this morning, and that's why I'm so tired. I've got like 3 hours of sleep right now. So I did if you don't know, I did a response to the Acolyte rap song thing that what's her name? Amandla?
Wait, what? Amandla?
The main character of the Acolyte, her name is Amandla Seinberg.
Oh, not so cringe.
Not a real name. And she wrote like a diss track making fun of all of the people who think the show is dumb, calling us all racists. And
that works every time.
I made a response. Also, her argument is stupid, but also her music is garbage. Like it's not. If you've listened to it,
of course, it's hip hop.
It's not even hip hop. It's not even. I don't even know what it was, but it wasn't music. Whatever she made, it was horrible. So I made a song. Okay.
Mark is right. Did you dance?
I did. So I reused a dance.
Crop top.
I reused my dance from the Wheel of Time rap videos.
No, okay.
Because I did not have. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay, and I'm like, I need to get this thing out.
Yeah. The shortest Wheel of Time book is just over 24 hours long. So at minimum, in no speed up, to listen to the shortest Wheel of Time book that isn't a prequel, you'd have to listen for an entire day straight.
Yeah, it's long.
That's 2 Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Elric is awesome, and I've been trying to set up a book club for Elric, but it's been difficult scheduling the Prophet of the Dragon. So
Yeah, Elric's.
I'll have to bother him again.
Elric's good series.
I enjoyed it a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was some good pulp. So anyway, this has been us talking about Gunmetal Gods for about half the time and going off tangents on the rest of the time.
Yep.
But I love Gunmetal Gods. I think it's an amazing book. I think everyone should read it.
And get him to make a wiki.
And Zamil follows me on Twitter still. I haven't said anything offensive enough to get him to unfollow. I've said some things I thought might do the trick. Because I don't think we have similar politics, but man, I love his book. It's two books I've read.
Yeah, it's that's the thing about politics, isn't it? It's just made to draw people apart. It's like, say what about in politics. Give me a good book.
I loved it. I loved it. I probably loved it more than you two did, but I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
Again, I think we both enjoyed it a lot. It's just, it's grimdark, and it's
very grim.
And it's very quick.
It was just so refreshing to me.
See, I enjoyed it, but I didn't feel refreshed. I felt like, oh, okay, that was it took something out of me just because it was so dark and so depressing. Like one of my favorite series, and this is pretty divisive for a lot of people, but like the Passage trilogy is one of my favorite trilogies, and a lot of people don't like them because they are so ultraviolet and so dark. But they're
heard of it.
Is it by Justin Cronin? I've never.
I love them, but a lot of people for some reason don't love, probably because they're so like ultraviolet and so dark and so like there's stuff that like in those that are just like you wouldn't recommend it to your mom or your dad, but it's like a modern vampire that morphs into like a post-apocalyptic end of the world type. It's
what kind of vampire is it? Is it more Will of Darkness, or is it more Twilight, or is it more?
I did not watch the show because I knew they would take the first half of the first book and ruin it, and they got exactly what they did. No, but it's like as far as plotting, Justin Cronin's a master. And basically, he was a English professor who his daughter was reading the Twilight books, and he's like, "These are crap. I can make a vampire book better than this," and he did. And they're great. I recommend them. But the same thing, it's like I've read them. I've read the whole trilogy 3 times, and every time I do it, just like I'm happy that I do, but it takes something out of me because it was so just I had to get through it, and it's beautiful and great and visceral and violent, but also it's not refreshing. It's not. It doesn't. I don't walk away excited. I walk away like that was an adventure.
I think I've been desensitized because that's what happened to me when after reading the first Law trilogy, right? That messed me up, and I read Gunmetal Gods afterwards, and it felt refreshing. Okay, right?
Oh yes, let's go from this grimdark to this grimdark. So refreshing and light. No. No, I get it.
The problem is the first Law trilogy ends with it beats you so hard because you're like, wow, that was like the worst ending ever, but it was perfect, and you can't be mad at it because also like it was right, and like the bad guy, well, I don't know, I don't want to spoil too much, but like. He's not you like hate this guy so much, but you can't be mad at him because he gets results, and you're like, fine, but I'm not happy about it, right? It was wonderful. I loved First Law. I stopped reading for a month though after I finished.
I can see why Gunmetal Gods might have been refreshing then, because at least Mike.
It ends hopeful, okay? It's got a hopeful ending.
Especially when he killed that horrible wife of his.
Okay, I will take a hopeful ending with a bittersweet, like, oh, you get to go make love for a year and then you got to do your servitude. It was very. It's kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean ending, right? Similar to that. The Flying Dutchman.
I've only watched.
I'll take a bittersweet, hopeful ending over this ending sucks, and and I'm going to tell you why it's the perfect ending, and you can't argue.
In my head canon, there's one Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
We speaking about, like, we do need to talk about Lightbringer, because I honestly, because I read it a couple books after GUNMETAL GODS, and it was just after GUNMETAL GODS, I listened to Heretics of Dune, and then 2 Expanse books. So it's been like a while since I've read some fantasy.
Right.
And yeah, it was quite nice to go back to fantasy because honestly, it is a good fantasy book.
Right.
It's very fun.
Lightbringer
has its
really
problems though, but it's especially one of the twists at the end. Like, wow, that whole plot line did not matter at all. But yeah, it's very, very fun. Honestly, it was refreshing, like what you had for.
Shut up, Tim.
Yeah,
I really like Lightbringer as well. That's a good series.
I won't say anything on stream because I don't think Pulp's read Lightbringer, so I won't spoil anything. But yeah, like one of the plot lines of book 1, it basically has no resolution. In fact, it resets basically at the end of book 1. I was like, wow, that's a disappointment.
Read.
Like, I get it. It's gonna happen in book 2.
Well,
but the entire book builds up to it, and it's like, oh, okay, what's the point?
Just wait. Just wait. You don't know how right and wrong you are. Okay.
Okay. Do you know which one I'm talking about, right? The cell. Yeah.
Yes,
like,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like, okay, at least
Just wait. It gets worse and better. Okay.
I know that it will have it has to have some sort of resolution by book 2 or whatever, book 3 or whatever. But like, just for book 1 alone, that whole plotline is so disappointing because it's throughout the entire book, and then at the end it's just like reset completely. It's like, okay.
It's not reset completely, just partly.
Just
okay.
In spirit, it's reset completely.
Anyway. Well, thanks for humoring me, guys. Thanks for reading GUNMETAL GODS, and I would love to keep doing this. And so, if you guys want to make me read something, let me know.
I do, but I'll figure that out.
But do you guys have anything else to say? I think that's probably a good place to call a stream.
Not much to say. I do got one little plug. We're still trying to lock down a date and a time, but I'm doing another book club. With actually Secret Fire book and Outlaw Booksellers, and we're doing a Dead World trilogy.
What's that? So I don't know that.
That's an old pulp. Make him read Twilight.
I have read Twilight, and I hate it.
I read book 1. So I kept making fun of the movies because I thought they were stupid. And a girl that I was dating at the time said, "Oh, you're not allowed to make fun of the books if you haven't read them." So I'm like, "Fine." No. I read book 1, and it made it so much easier.
It's awful.
Made it so much easier to make fun of.
You know, it's funnier because Twilight is the only time I can ever say definitively the movies are better, and I hate that.
I'll tell you.
I read the book. I read both Twilight, the first one, and also the sex swap one. I read both of
the
those.
gender swap, right.
Yeah.
She gender swapped her own book. Yes. She fan fictioned in her own book.
Oh, yes, it's Twilight and Life and Death.
Yeah.
I read both of those because I got the audiobook for it, right? Mm-hmm. I read both of them, and I watched the movie afterwards. The movie's better.
The movie is better.
Unironically, the movie is better than the book.
It's not good, but it's better. Before we end the stream, do you have anything to plug, Acquisitioner?
I wish I got Understanding Dune Chapter 2 is in the works, but I'm busy working on my dissertation, so that's taking priority right now.
You got real life?
I know.
Wow, that's weird. I remember real life.
I am putting together a Sonic the Hedgehog quiz for my friends because it's a joke in my friend group that because I group with Sonic, I know a bunch of random Sonic stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm basically putting together a 33-long questionnaire or like a quiz show basically for my 2 friends who know next to nothing about Sonic the Hedgehog to do.
And that's your dissertation?
No, that's just the thing I want to do. If it were, that'd be so fun. But no, my dissertation is about a card game. But that's a straight another time.
Yeah, it is true. Twilight or 50 Shades of Grey started as Twilight fan fiction. Yes.
Yeah, and bad, and it's a very bad fan fiction.
And it reads like it.
Okay, quick. Before we sign off, my quick Twilight story. I think I've told on stream before, but it's funny. The writing is so bad. I guessed the plot of the entire series without having read any of it. So I obviously Twilight was in the cultural zeitgeist, and I knew it was a story about vampires and it was a romance, and I knew that the main character was a girl and that she falls in love with a vampire, and I thought her name was Belle, not Bella. It's Bella.
Wait. Yeah, it is Bella. Yeah, I was right.
But I thought it was Belle, and I knew that because everyone was like Team Edward, Team Jacob, right? So I knew that the vampires. I knew the vampire's name was Edward. That is it. I hadn't seen the movies. I had not read the books at all, and I was talking to a group of girls. Well, I was at this like teen hangout thing. Like there's just a lot of people at the park, and I was bored. And this group of like 3 or 4 girls were just chatting about Twilight, and so I just approached the group. I was like, "This should be fun." And I said, "Oh my gosh, are you guys talking about Twilight?" Like, yes. I'm like, I love Twilight so much. They're like, shut up. No, you don't. I haven't met a single man who's read or liked Twilight. I was like, come on. It's beautiful. I love Twilight. Like, so that they said, prove it. And I did. In my mind, I'm like, this will be a funny joke. I just thought of the stupidest plot I could think of.
No.
Right? The most cliche, overridden plot. On the fly, I improvised the actual plot of the book. I'm like, it's this beautiful, it's this harrowing romance. It rivals Romeo and Juliet because yes, it's the same story, but it's even more tragic because not only do you have 2 star-crossed lovers on different sides of a conflict, they're also on different sides of mythology, right? You've got Belle, and I called her Belle like 30 times. You've got Belle, who's just immortal. She's a mortal human, and she falls in love with an eternal vampire, Jacob. And it's beautiful because they want to be together. They know they both love each other, and she wants to be with him, and he wants to be with her, but he doesn't want her to live with the curse of being a vampire, right? He doesn't want to. That's not something he would ever wish on someone that he loves, and of course, and I just improvised. And
you're lying.
I was just waiting.
You're lying. You read it.
I was just waiting for them to stop me, and they never did. So I just kept going, and their mouths were just on the floor. You have read Twilight.
Oh no.
And I'm like, okay, how far can we take this? Because I'm from New Mexico, but this happened in Utah. And the only other tidbit that I knew is that the author is Mormon, and I am a Mormon, and that she used to live in New Mexico. So I said, yeah, I've read the last book, which hadn't come out yet. Book 4, right? Or is it 4 or 5?
I think it's just 3, right?
No, it's 4. It's not. It's 4. It's got to be 4. I know it's not a trilogy. That's what I know.
Let us know, Mark.
Oh, bloody hell, there's 1, 2...
I've read the last book. I know the author.
There you go. Horrible. So, the books are 4, the movies are 5, because the last book
they did split the last book. Okay.
Like Harry Potter.
I know the author. She gave me an advanced copy of book 4. I'm one of the alpha readers.
Oh!
Oh! And I made up book 4, and they were pissed. They were like I killed off Edward, right? I killed off everybody, and it was stupid. They should have known. I had him get stabbed in the heart with a stake, which that's not how vampires work in this series. I didn't know that, but they were so shocked.
Wait.
That I killed off Edward that they didn't realize that the method was impossible, right?
Wait, so is it with the Darkness rules?
With what?
So in Will of Darkness, when a vampire gets staked in the heart, they just get paralyzed until you pull out the stake again.
No, to kill a vampire in Twilight, you have to dismember the body and burn it, I think. But their bodies are like made of stone.
All right.
It's weird, okay? It's weird.
Well, it's Twilight. It's not well written. That's the point. That's the point of Twilight.
Yeah, I killed him off. I literally had them in tears. They're like, no, say it isn't true. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's not true. And it took them a second. Like, what? No, I made the whole thing up. I haven't read any of Twilight. They were pissed, and I never talked to them again.
So everybody, thanks for watching our Twilight stream.
Yes.
I'm Team Blade.
But probably one of the proudest moments of my entire life. I would put that over my son being born, I think.
But don't tell him that.
It just felt so good, you know? Just
yes. It's like it's vindication, Schadenfreude, and a surprise at the same time.
Anyway, thanks for doing this. You guys make me read something next, and we'll do this again. So
sounds good.
Yes, you can, Mark Clark. Yes, you can.
He's very good at it. Hey, the stream was already over. Okay.
Yeah.
It was over, but just you got a little treat at the end.
Yeah.
Anything?
Next time, then?
And anything else to plug? No.
No.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to that. Your little book club with Secret Fire books. You should.
Yeah, and Book Graveyard. I said Outlaw Booksellers, but we'll get him next time. He's just a little another little YouTuber like us. So
yeah, well, I would unironically love to do a Twilight book club and see which one of us can make like the best. I don't know, just the best like worst thing they found about books. That'd be great.
I will give Stephanie Meyer some credit. She did have one good scene in book 4, which I didn't read. I only read the first one. But someone told me about it, and I'm like, that's a smart idea. She had two characters. One of them could read minds, and one of them could see the future, and they played a game of chess. Okay. Where they each took one move, and then played the rest of the game in their heads, and then one of them tipped the king and resigned. That's a good idea!
That's neat.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good scene. That's the best thing I can say about Stephanie Myers.
Yay.
So, anyway, thanks for tuning in. Go check out these guys' videos; they're pretty good. And we'll be doing this again sometime. So,
all right, pleasure, boys.
Bye.
Bye.
I just happened to stop by for books.
Books. I like books.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
I can't talk about it with you.
Well, why not?
You already did that.
We just finished.
What happened to then?
We passed that.
When?
Just now. We're at now.
Go back to then.
When?
Now.
Now?
Now.
I can't.
Why?
We missed it.
When?
Just now.
Oh, how did that go?
Well, we had a really good conversation.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
You did fine, Todd.
Good.
You can go home now.
This is the end.
That's all she wrote.
I'll never forget you.
I don't even know how to read.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If it's true, please take a minute to subscribe to the channel, and you can join us along for the ride. And I'll try to be more entertaining, so please consider joining Patreon.